Okay, I'm finally in a warm spot. It's too cold and I need to stop. And I thought I'd make a little vlog while I do it. Maybe I can unwind a little bit. I took a walk because I was needing to be grounded and just thinking too much. And I don't want to be so much in my head. And I'm finding that most of the people I know are too much in their head. I think it's a North American epidemic. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with all the computer time and all the time spent in entertaining, getting entertainment all the time. I'm just thinking about how I really want to go into this different level of looking at things, because as much as it pains me to have to say this, I was thinking today about how so many of the New Age, so many of the New Agers and some of their main things that they say are true. And one of the truest New Age-ism is, that your thoughts attract, and that your thoughts have magnetism. And I find that, it's true, when I spend too much time focusing on negative subjects, I can get really stressed out, and especially if it's negative subjects that have to do with things that happen to me personally. Is this thing even on? I hope so. Anyway, I can hardly see it now. It's super blinding. So I'm sort of more focusing on healing and resolving certain core things like stress and whatnot, and getting the meridians flowing, which I'll discuss. But basically, that's where I'm going to go with most of the work I'm doing. It's more productive. It just is for me. And I still focus on negative topics, but I always want to have a transmutational twist, like mind control. When I do stuff on mind control, I try to give a perspective that gives greater mental freedom. And I don't find that in a lot of the channels, and a lot of the information out there are very focused on how disempowered everybody is and how futile it is. And I hear a lot of victim talk. I do, and I understand it. Especially a lot of people who are dealing with insurmountable problems and who have been physically scarred and wounded. And so, really, it's difficult when you've been sucked down the drain of negativity, either by your life situation or your stupid choices or your ego or whatever, probably a combination of all three. You're in a position where you don't have any real objectivity and perspective, and you're looking through the world through a lens of falsity. You're looking at the world through eyes that are not seeing, and you can't be expected to see when you're super stressed out or you're super confused. And it's really hard to think positive. And that's the thing that always annoys me about the New Agers, is they're just think good thoughts. Yeah, try thinking good thoughts when your life is complete shit and your biochemistry is acid and you're totally run down and poor. I mean, it's just stupid. It's really stupid. And they ignore the fact that once you're stuck in a feedback loop, it's really difficult to break out of. And maybe, the snake eating its tail is sort of a good symbolic way to look at that, because you end up eating away at yourself and your energy, and you're always putting in maximum effort for minimum gains. So, really not spinning your wheels anymore does require more grounding. Very hard to get grounded when you're in a bad position, but I find the majority of people are not necessarily in a bad position. They're in a bad position in their heads, and if you're that way and you do have the ability to ground and you have a roof over your head and you have a computer and you have enough food, then you can work through a lot. The people that are really, like, truly being victimized are generally, like, in other parts of the world. We're not hearing their vlogs. They're starving and worse. And so I just find that there's this, like, disproportionate, unrealistic, totally, like, occluded way of looking at things. Everyone's just looking at things through the lens of their own story, and it's really hard to get outside yourself and be objective and see. We have inner sight. When you dream at night and you see in your dreams, you're not seeing with your physical eyes. When you have out-of-body experiences or you have visions, it's not physical sight, but there's inner eyes, or an inner eye, really. And I think that we see too much through that surface ego sometimes, and part of the reason why quieting the mind is so important, and quieting the inner dialogue, gaining some mastery over that, instead of engaging it and feeding it, because it just starts that loop-de-loop. It's just like, okay, let's break that inner dialogue feedback loop that's going round and round and round, that's super negative, and go out for a walk. And things like that, it's what it takes is a lot of self-observation. But if your mind is going in loops, then you're going to be eating your own tail energetically. And it's going to be a story. It's a story in your head. It is. Some of it's true. Some of it's not true. Really, until you quiet it down, you're not going to be able to be centered enough to assess what's true and not true inside your own head. Until you come back to the eye of the storm, which is your real sight, and it is not your eyes, it's not your ego, it's deeper than that. And it observes with way more objectivity than your surface mind can. I don't know if we can ever achieve real objectivity in this reality, but I know that people are far more objective and aware of what is really going on outside of them, and rather than what they're projecting. It's almost like some people, their eyes are like little movie projectors. They see what they want to see outside themselves. Reality is their movie, and they're trying to direct it. There's some big-time, very wealthy people who see reality that way. There's some real poor people that do too. Most of us go through that projectile kind of way of looking at things. But the mind is usually real chatty when that's going on, and real engaged. So looking at things from the deeper sight, the deeper mind, is really important sometimes, especially if you're really spinning around and you're having a hard time. Anyway, I'm doing this to keep warm. I don't know if I really made a whole lot of sensical sense, but I'll just post this on my backup channel because it's nothing organized.